Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Tom Stewart here, Smart Business Moves. Our secret guest this week is Matt Ricketts. Hey, Matt.
Hey.
Okay, so tell me, do you love my clue?
Your clue was awesome. I had to actually Google, I had to look it up. So what the heck? It was,
Okay.
so it was like you are deficient in, what was it, sunlight?
I said, so if you want to see our guest, one thing that you might think, if you know him, if you know his name at least, or you saw it in print, you might think that he had vitamin D's.
Is it vitamin C or vitamin D deficiency?
It's vitamin C, isn't it?
Oh, it's D.
D?
Dog. D like dog.
Okay.
You're thinking scurvy.
Scurvy is C, yeah. So if your name was Scurvy.
Hey, Denise. Did you guess it was Matt Ricketts?
Yeah, we need to find. We've got a clue. We just need to find a guest whose last name is Scurvy.
Right. Matt, where are you? Is this your brand new house? Why are you so woo? You look like you're.
Yeah, I moved into the new house. Had a busy week. Broke my arm 2 weeks ago. Mountain biking. Did a big move, and probably on Tuesday still had to move a bunch of boxes because those. We actually do we always do this. So I don't know if anyone else is as crazy as us, but we've owned 5 houses in 10 years. So we're pretty good at moving. I'm hopeful that we're done moving. This house is 4,500 square feet. So we don't need any more space. We certainly are okay on that regard. Anyway, so I had to move tons of boxes because it's always last minute because we always close like the same day that we're like moving. So it's like, there's just all these moving parts to get out on the same day. And, we're signing documents. We need to be out of the house by 4 o'clock and all this other craziness. So, yeah.
I didn't know you broke your arm, Matt.
Yeah.
Wow. That's such a bummer.
Yeah, that was I had a mountain bike race I was going to do next Sunday. And I was kind of feeling good enough that I was like, oh, maybe I'll go try it out this weekend and, see if I can ride. And then after these last couple of days, I'm like, I'm not doing stuff. Like, that's not happening. That's like, that's probably off the table. I'm super sore. I also sprained my foot on that same accident, and I'm all bruised. I mean, I went over the handlebars going downhill pretty fast. So it was exciting. So my wife was pretty thrilled with me a week before a move to be all banged up. And it was the day of my son's first communion. So I'm like, like cleaning blood off my elbows and like my knees and like getting ready to get my suit on. She was very pleased with me.
Yeah. I gotta say, I can kind of understand, Matt.
Kind of par for the course.
Yeah.
We're going to be doing on the spot today. But before we get deep into that, I do want to talk about what we're going to be doing next week, because if I don't, I will forget, and that's never good. Give you guys a heads up what to plan for next week. So we're going to have Karina Neff. She's been on our show a couple times, I guess, at least once, I know.
I think once.
Yeah. What are we talking about, Liz?
We're gonna talk about why you should register for the convention.
Okay.
You can read as well as I can.
I would have thought, okay.
Okay, I'm kidding. All right, so no, this is really what we're going to talk about. But Karina is the chair of the convention committee, and that's why we have her on, because she's going to tell us all the cool things that they're doing. I know everybody keeps saying that they're going to do cool things. It's not just a virtual event, but what kind of cool things? What are they going to be? How are they going to do it? So I thought Karina could come on and walk us through some of that stuff. Are they going to have a trade show, and how's that going to work?
It's actually a really good opportunity to put some of your managers through some training. Now, for us that go to this, that want to meet other business owners and things like that, I'm not as thrilled about it as I have been in years past. Because for a lot of us, it's about the networking and things like that. But strictly for the education portion, there's some good segments that are pretty relevant to some of our frontline managers. So I think it's a good opportunity.
And the price, you can't beat the price. I think it's still $99, right?
Yeah.
And they are going to have some interesting networking events. So I don't know how well they're going to work, but I know that they're being inventive and they are trying to really think outside the box. So I'm looking forward to it. They are going to have roundtables, which was interesting. So I'm looking forward to hearing what Karina has to say for sure.
Yeah, she's fun. She'll have some good stuff for us. And if you guys weren't with us yesterday, you missed. It was, every once in a while we have a memorable show, and yesterday was one of them. Perry Tate, I know a number of you guys. I've already seen you here. You actually saw him yesterday. He lives in China. I guess he's living in Shanghai at the moment. Owns a company in China. They make cleaning equipment. A lot of it's in the window cleaning space, but it also has some tools that create fog. Basically he's fogging hypochlorous acid because that's more efficacious in terms of taking airborne pathogens and reducing their impact. And we learned a lot about COVID from a Chinese perspective, how they manage it and what they know about it and what their people know about it. And by the time we were done yesterday, everybody was blowing up our chat saying, you've got to have Perry back. And he was gracious enough to agree to come back Tuesday. So go back and look at what we did yesterday. It's worth your time. And if you like that, come back next Tuesday for round 2.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. He said something right as we got off the call, and I was like, darn, I wish he would have said that on the call. Do you remember what it was, Tom? It was something that we should be doing or that we could be doing. Darn it. Well, he'll hit it next time. I meant to write it down, but I was still paying attention to him. I was like, still entranced. He's a great guy.
Wednesday, Don's one of my favorite speakers. I first met him in a Vistage group. He travels all over the country speaking and gets paid a whole lot of money to do it. And he's a former plaintiff's attorney, and he used to make a lot of money suing companies like ours. And he just got to the point where he can't look himself in the mirror anymore. So he quit that and started an HR firm to coach businesses like ours on how to manage HR issues in a way to not get sued. And he's a great speaker. He's got a wealth of information, and there's a lot of stuff out there specific to COVID, and it's kind of popped up over the last 6 months or so that we need to know about. So Don's going to be bringing it. And I guess he's also going to be one of the presenters at the virtual ARCSI convention. Is that correct, Liz?
I believe so, yeah. I know he is. Yes,
yeah.
he.
And Thursday, we'll bring us back around here again, where we'll be doing On the Spot, and we will be having a secret guest. Do we have a hint?
If I could remember who it was, I would have a hint. I cannot remember.
It is so secret.
Don't put it on the screen.
Oh no, I'm a pro.
I don't remember. Who was it?
So I've got.
I know who it is.
Oh.
I know who it is. Okay. So, okay, I've got one. Y'all know my corny clues, right? So this is a corny clue. Fair warning.
You can't be apologizing before you even give it to us.
I'm not apologizing. I'm warning you so that it's like the clue to the clue. All right. Hey, Marlo. Hi, Diane. Hi, y'all. See, everybody's coming late because they're used to us coming late, but we got schooled about coming late. We were told, come on, you guys got to be on time. And Alonzo told us that we look disorganized, right? We be professional. We have to be on time. So you'll notice we're going to be on time now.
We're efforting.
So Our clue for next week's guest is if you were in a group, in a Facebook group, I almost said his name, with this person. Oh, and I already gave you one clue, right? Okay, if you're in a group with this person, you might think, is he boiled? But you would be wrong. You would be so wrong. Not because he wasn't boiled either.
Okay.
He's obviously not boiled.
Matt, I've heard stories about your new house and your master bath and your tub. Before we get started, could you please show us what that's all about?
Sure, this is funny. So I had never seen one of these in all the years we've owned a cleaning company. So we moved in, and I'm trying to get in here. So it's got a big soaking tub, but there's no faucet. And I was looking around. Where does the water come out? So I was putting my hands underneath it just to turn it on. So I get it turned right. The water comes out of the ceiling. It's some pretty fancy stuff. So the shower's not that itself. I don't know if I can. There's body sprays all over the place. This place is pretty nice. They didn't spare many expenses building this place. So we probably couldn't tolerate doing a full build ourselves. So we just bought someone else's really nice build.
I don't understand. How much does it splash when the tub starts filling up?
Well, that tub is designed to overflow. You actually fill it all the way to the top, and it doesn't run until it's actually like a waterfall outside of the enclosure into another. You got to fill it all the way up, and then it splashes over. It's pretty extravagant for sure.
Well,
I don't know how often that really ever gets used, but I imagine the kids will have fun in it, a few times, and it'll be, it's a novelty. So there's a lot of cool things like this in this house, really nice kitchen appliances, and they put in a lot of the best of the best, and then we're getting all that stuff 10 years old, so it's all ready to break for us.
I really wish Trisha Lake was on this call. You know how that girl loves a bath. I think bathes multiple times a day.
You need to take a picture of that and put it on Facebook.
I know, right? Who's gonna understand that?
So there was a couple of things that I wanted to kind of share before we jump into questions and things like that. So just so everyone's aware, most of your 24-week periods for your PPP are coming up. Either if you got it the first week, those came up the end of September. So mine actually got funded exactly 24 weeks ago, Monday. So my 24 week is basically up this week. So I can start the process of forgiveness. So that's new. If you haven't really thought about that since I've always been coming on talking about PPP, just thought I'd hit on that.
How long do you have, though? I mean,
10 months from the end of your 24-week period. So you have some time, but I certainly wouldn't want to be in the back end of that.
Have you heard? I was talking to a banking friend who said there's a lot of different theories out there, but there's a lot of people in their organization that keep hearing that when they start trying to adjudicate all of this, they just, no, the bandwidth isn't there to actually verify all of this.
Sure.
And they're anticipating that there's going to be a threshold where SBA is going to say, just forget about it. If it's less than $250,000, it's just good. And
I don't fall into that. I don't fall into that number. And, probably, most of our friends and peers do, but I didn't quite fall into that.
Yeah, but it might be higher, I guess, is point of the point as well. And he says from their standpoint, there's no real strategic benefit that they can think of that would want to put you in the front of the line. And if you wait a little bit and let the reality of what an arduous task this is going to be, the rules might change in your favor, because they've already demonstrated that they'll change the rules in the middle of the game. They've done that many, many times. That you want to wait a little bit to see if maybe you can get the whole thing forgiven without having to go through much of anything.
I'll wait till January at the latest, but then I want to get it off my balance sheet. So I'll wait 3 months, but that's after that. I just want to get it off my balance sheet. So there's just you're right. There's a lot of uncertainty still between now and the election. Nothing's going to probably happen. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like it felt like we were going to see another round of PPP, and those of us that were shut down for any period of time the rules were looking very favorable for us to get a second round of PPP, which would really set us well, to really recover strong. But I don't think we're going to see any kind of changes in rules or any new funding or anything like that for a bit. So I'll hold off a bit, but if anybody just wants to get it off their balance sheet, probably they can at this point. So I just wanted to bring that up because the 24-week basically for most of us is somewhere about now.
Yeah. Leslie's asking about what the process looks like. I know enough to know that every lending institution has their own workflow, and some of them had it figured out, sooner than others. What are your people telling you, Matt?
I got a letter from my bank today, just basically going through the process, and it was their clarification is that the SBA, not them, is going to be the one that's going to be reviewing the documentation.
That's what I've heard too.
Yeah, so that is going to make it a bit of a bottleneck because the SBA is not a big organization as far as manpower, and so when they get all these in, it's gonna take a minute to get through all these. I think you're right. I think they will probably have to just have a streamlined process, and they may have to reevaluate. So yeah, being first has never really been all of that good of a thing in all of this process. So having had some early conversations with you and Joe Walsh, Joe always took a very patient and logical approach to all of this, and I think that there is some benefit to being patient, and I think that's gonna pay off. So other projects. Me and you did got our engineered water finally, our hypochlorous acid and sodium hydroxide. That's been doing well. We're putting that out in the field and finding out what it can do and what it can't do, and really covers about 80 to 90% of our cleaning applications. And we're going to have to fill the gap in with some other scrubbing products, and potentially we talked a little bit about whether we need an acid product or not. I haven't come across that yet, but that's something I'm really excited about from a standpoint of safety and efficacy and just green cleaning. I think it's really exciting to be in that space. And I know it was hard to find a company that would work with janitorial or cleaning companies because they're mostly selling to
hospitals or school systems and senior living facilities where they're selling the equipment, a dozen at a time.
Right. Yeah. So for them just to sell us 1 or 2 units, it was good to find a company that would work with us, and the company we picked is excellent as far as I'm concerned. Good customer service, good product. Really
how I did it? Basically, I said, if you hook us up, I can get you on smart business moves. That was the thing that tipped it.
That was it. Smart business move.
That was it.
But I can tell you, I have a lot of friends that have been very interested in the product, and I've referred a few people over, and I hope that they get some more business out of it. So, and my business is built around another brand, around the Better Life cleaning products, and I still had to move this way because we needed a reliable source of disinfection that was safe and green, and then the byproduct, the sodium hydroxide, is fantastic as far as a degreaser and cleaning agent. So that's been going on, and then other stuff. New website we got done. Working on some review generation stuff. So if anyone wants to ask any questions about that, they can go to our website, take a peek on that while we're in conversation. BetterLifeMates.com. I
loved your old one. So,
yeah.
Tom, pull it up for us. Oh, he can't. He's got the clock.
Oh, I can do
anything. All right, you guys. So give us your questions. Get your questions out there. You know how this gig works. As soon as we run out of questions, we are shutting down for the week. We have 3 questions that I usually bring 3 questions to the Facebook Live from the MMA groups. So I have 3 again this week, but when they're done, if you guys don't have any questions, we're done.
While we're waiting for questions, I keep seeing your nice job widget popping up down here. You want to tell us what that's doing for you?
Yeah, so I'll tell you a little bit about the site. Just so on a visual appeal, we whitened it up, brightened it up, went with a lot more white space. Wanted to show some imagery around COVID with all of us in PPE and some other things going on. And then the site was really designed around converting and built around Made Central, which is our back-end software, and our booking engine is run through Made Central, our online booking. But the Nice Job widget that you're seeing there's a couple places that Nice Job is on the site. So if you have that little widget there that pops up, but go ahead and scroll down to the middle of the site, like a little bit further, right past this block here, one more block down. And there you go. That's all driven by Nice Job as well, and those are all live reviews that are placed there. So we started using Nice Job a couple months ago, and I wish I had a referral link to give you because I'm really thrilled with this product. So the way Nice Job works is, some of you have quality driven or some other software products where it's direct linked. We've talked about directly linking with this in Made Central. But what it is you take the jobs you do and you send them over to Nice Job. It's better if you did a good job first by having surveyed them with QDS or with Made Central or something else, and sending your 5s over so that you only get good reviews. And it sends them a text message, and then it has a follow-up system of up to 3 or 4 emails that you can add or delete emails. I went to just a text and then 1 email, and the really cool thing is it only allows you to text them or email them in 1 6-month block. So even though as you keep getting surveys from the same customers, you don't keep putting them through this cycle constantly, so that they're always getting hit up by you to do a survey. So eventually the surveys start to die down a little bit. But the first week we did this, we were getting 7, 8, 9 surveys a week, and now we're down to about 3 or 4 new fresh surveys every week. We went from about 160 surveys. We crested all the way to 202, and then it's kind of slid back to 199 for some reason on Google when I looked at it today. But really, puts us, at the top of our market for generating reviews. And obviously, that's good for the SEO of the site too, of having that fresh content. But then you also have that little widget that popped up that Tom was describing at the bottom. That's really great for just capturing their attention and adding another trust element to your site. So our site now is capturing about 15% of visitors will fill out one of the forms on our site now. So our conversion rate went from about 9% to about 15% with the new site.
Nice.
Some of that's design, and some of that is, I do believe, is adding the Nice Job widget in and some other trust elements. So so if we're getting 100 visitors a day instead of getting 8 leads, we're now getting close to 15.
Okay. You don't have a referral link for these guys?
I should, because I tell people about them all the time. But yeah, just Nice Job is fantastic.
I'm gonna. I shared with you guys that we're doing some work with Carrie Knight. She's training our sales staff, and she's a big Nice Job fan too. So she has a referral link. So we're glad that if you want to go to them, go to that and take care of Carrie at the same time, because she does work for us.
I'm a big fan of it. I know, you could do this. You could do everything that they do on your own, but just the automation of it once it's kicking is really smooth and clean. It works well. And then the little extra widgets that you get are fantastic. So anyway, those are the projects that I've been working on.
Well, I'm looking for questions, and I don't see any there.
Nope, I see no questions. It's going to be a short day.
All right.
I missed lunch today.
Some questions, Tom.
Yeah, I'm on it. I'm on it. Let's see. Where do you want to start off with?
Just start at the top.
what do you think biz will look like in March of 2021?
I'm glad you're first.
Do you know if they're talking about the industry as a whole or castle keepers specifically?
No, well, they were talking about industry as a whole, but if you wanted to talk about your business, that'd be fine too, I'm sure.
Good question. Okay. I think COVID's going to continue to be a really big deal. Nobody has a crystal ball, but I think it's still going to be top of mind, top of concern, and depending upon if it gets worse in the wintertime and in the fall and the winter would have a bearing on that. I think there's going to be less competitors in the market space. We've already seen that. I think that's going to continue to be an event, which means for the stronger, better run companies that, the fewer competitors are in the marketplace, the more potential revenue it is for all of us who are. So, being safe, PPE, training is still going to be really important. You're going to have to convince the marketplace that you're professional and you're keeping them safe. But I see a lot of upside. I think it's going to be good. You ready, Matt?
Yep. So I think we're going to all be in, the same mindset of, cleaning for health and safety. I think is a big pivot that we all need to be, leaning into. Before this was even big, Tom and I were discussing, we were putting our staff in PPE before, people were even concerned with that. I think that's around for the long run. I don't think even in March, I think we're talking into maybe years to come, we'll be acting in different ways. As far as the market in general, I'm seeing a lot of demand, consumer demand right now that we're starting to finally be able to fill. So I finally am back up to 30 technicians. We started with close to 40 when this all started to shake out. So I'm seeing a lot of demand. We're just not able to meet it all in a timely fashion. So I'm thinking we're going to be back to about 90%.
Ready, Liz?
Yep. So I am thinking that people are going to be fatigued by March with COVID. And so they're not going to want to be talking about it as much. It's not going to be as big of a news item. But I think that we've seen a permanent shift. I don't think that we're ever going to, at least not for decades, we're never going to go back to the place that it used to be where people wanted their house clean because they wanted it to look good and they wanted it to look clean. I think those days are past, and everybody's going to need to actually know how to clean. Everybody's going to need to know how to remove soil from a surface the right way and to know what they're doing, not just to be able to do it. I think it's going to be a big deal training in the future for us.
Very good. We all used a fair amount of our allotted 60 seconds on.
Yes, we did good. We did good.
Heather has a question.
I'm really happy about that question too. Look at that smile.
Matt says something about adding an acid product to your list. Can you please touch base on that?
I don't know if this is an on-the-spot question, or we can just fill
Go
in.
ahead and address it.
The process is, Heather, is that the products coming out of the on-site generation, one is a slight acid with the hypochlorous acid, and the other is a base it's a slight base, but it's a base. And so for some cleaning applications like urine or other things like that, like you might need an acid to handle some of those jobs. But I've tested it on some pretty gross stuff today in this new house we bought. Like they were, this house didn't exactly come to us perfectly clean. and it's worked well. So I'm not convinced that we do need to add anything at this time. It's just we're musing on whether that's going to be the case or not.
Yeah, the problem is the hypochlorous acid really is, for all practical purposes, neutral. It's good for one thing, for sanitizing and disinfecting. It's not really a cleaner. The sodium hydroxide, it's got a pretty high pH. I think it's around 10, maybe 11.
Oh, wow.
So,
Yeah, I thought it was
it's one heck of a degreaser. I mean, it's awesome, but you're not really left with much on the acid side to deal with things that you deal with like in bathrooms, let's say. And I learned a lot about this particular technology from Robin and Gary Murphy with Main Brigade up in Westchester, just outside of New York. And they've been using, I've known Robin for years. We've been chemical-free cleaning buddies probably since around 2005. And they've been doing this for a long time. And they augment their, they use the same technology, and they augment that with Barkeeper's Friend, which is acid-base abrasive. And just with that one addition, they're able to use the on-site generation along with Barkeeper's Friends and some mechanical action like green scrubbies and things like that.
Yeah, that's a good point, and that's what our intention is at this time as well, is to use a scrubbing product to kind of to fill that gap. All right, cool.
Wow, here's a good one. We're gonna put this on the clock. Have you ever had a client smoke pot while the team was cleaning their house? Our policy is to have our employees leave the home when this happens. Unfortunately, they did not tell me until after the fact. I was not happy about that. You ready, Matt?
Sure. I don't think I've ever had it happen. So what our policy is, I'd have to review that, but I would assume that our policy would be to step aside and to inform the office. And we would address that with them and just ask them to politely, refrain from that while we were working. But yeah, that's not something that's come up enough to make that into like a big training. I don't have a whole lot that I can offer on that.
Ready, Liz?
I am. Well, Matt, if you lived in Washington, you wouldn't probably have that same answer. So yeah, we've had that happen on many, many times. So we ended up creating a letter that went out to all of our clients, explaining why they couldn't smoke pot in the house. Nothing to do with a legality, but just that they can't smoke because the labor rules demand that our employees not be in a smoke-filled environment. So that's what we use. We still have teenagers that smoke sometimes when mom's not home. And so we have to just have a direct conversation because we sent out that letter. Everybody feels comfortable having the conversation. Oh, I'm sorry, we're not allowed to clean while you're smoking. Do you mind if we open the windows or take a break, etc.? We also had an employee that smoked pot on the clock. I just wanted to get that one out there.
We probably all have. We just don't know it, right?
Yeah, I knew.
Okay. My short answer is no, not that I'm aware of anyway.
For sure.
Tom's banking those minutes. That's what he's doing.
That's right. I'm gonna roll those out.
There.
Heather's got a question for us. She's redoing her website professionally. Any recommendations, especially now in a COVID-19 world, this unprecedented time that we're in? You're up, Liz. You ready?
Sure. Heather, I don't really have anything great. My best advice would be to find somebody who's a professional, sounds like you're doing that, and listen to what they tell you and do that, because I think that the main thing about your website is that it has to convert. So be focused on the conversion and how you're going to, make sales from it. So listen to that advice.
I think the biggest thing, if you're doing work like this is just to find the right contractor, the right professional to work with. I mean, that makes all of the difference because they're the experts, they're the pros. So my recommendation would be talk to all your other cleaning business acquaintances, owners, friends, and get referrals and use that as an interview process. You need to have some idea of what your budget is, and just shop around. And actually, when you're interviewing your fellow cleaning business owners, ask them what criteria they used and why they picked the people that they picked and why they like it, why they don't like it. And make sure you like what their website looks like, and make sure you have some understanding as to how it's ranking from an SEO standpoint and how it converts. You ready, Matt?
Yep. So I don't know if I can do this in a minute, but there's 3 things that stand out.
You just wasted 5 seconds, Matt.
There's 3 things that stand out. You would need to, first off, really audit the SEO of your site first. So really look for all the keywords that you want to be going after and how you're going to build pages and structure around that. Second, you want to be building for conversions. So that's based on the consumer experience of your website. And then the third thing is you want to be building for performance. And that actually kind of comes back to SEO too and the user experience. Performance would be things like load time, things like security, things like just overall, user experience when they come there. They know what you want them to do when you hit your site. And so sometimes it takes more than one expert, and sometimes it takes a few to get it done.
Excellent. I was reading this, but I think this is a statement about some of the challenges of booking online and kind of foregoing the opportunity to screen your clients. I guess that's a trade-off.
That is, but you can always, so what we do is when someone books online, we still call them and follow up with them and make sure they understand the process and what they're actually buying. So you cut the cycle down of them shopping, right? They gave you your credit card. You've already stopped the shop, right? Now you can spend a little bit more time educating them if they'll let you.
Okay.
So we have 2 more questions in the queue of our own, y'all. So when those are done, if you don't have questions, we'll be done. Oh, that's 2:39.
If you could only track 3 numbers in your company, what would they be? Interesting. I'm going to take some liberties with this question because there's some basic things that you need to know in your company in terms of how much money in the bank and are you being profitable from one period of time to another. So your basic financial statements that you get out of your QuickBooks, I'm not going to count those because that's a necessity. From a KPI standpoint, there's 3. One of them is your payroll to revenue number. That's a proxy for your cost of goods sold, and it has a huge bearing on how much operating capital you have to cover your other operating expenses and the profit you're making. 2 is your recurring revenue growth week over week, because that's really how you grow your business. And the 3rd is your monthly attrition rate, percentage of recurring customers you lose out of all the recurring customers you have. Those are your 3 basic important KPIs. I cheated a little bit, but yeah. I could have gotten that in. I could have gotten that in. My finger slipped.
You had an extra 52 seconds, so it's fine.
Well, point in about 2/3 of a second, but I could have anyway. I'm ready, Matt.
Yeah. So the 3 Tom mentioned would have been ones that I would have mentioned as well. The only other one that I really think that you really have to bear in mind at all times is your quality score. I like Net Promoter. You can usually figure that out from your survey score and measure your net promoter, so you can look at other industry trends from time to time. But just knowing your quality score and then having an idea where that kind of measures up in the marketplace, I think can really drive performance. And really, if you are subpar in your quality score, and you're trying to drive traffic to your website and make more money, you're going to burn more matches than if you had a higher quality score and you actually had your operations buttoned up tight, and you're turning more of those customers into long-term customers, reducing churn, and making more per job with happy customers. So those all kind of drive some of those other metrics Tom talked about.
That's good. You ready, Liz?
Yep. All right, so this one's kind of hard because everybody's giving all the good answers, but my 3 answers would be payroll percent to revenue, which Tom talked about earlier. What percentage of your payroll is being spent on your labor? That's huge. My second one would be what Matt said, the client satisfaction rating, however you measure that. But my third would be the employee satisfaction rating, because I believe that if your employees are happy, they will give good service. And then as long as you're watching that PPR, right, your payroll percent to revenue, that you'll have a lot less managing to do, and you won't lose your people. You won't have to hire more people. So my 3, employee satisfaction, client satisfaction, and payroll percent to revenue.
Made central feature request, Tom. I want an employee survey. That's actually good.
It's on the board, actually. We have a well-developed employee engagement module, like on paper.
I really think that's actually a really important piece, Liz. I think that's actually underlooked, and I wish that I had said that too, because that's that driving that other churn and that other stuff that we talked about is really a lot to do with how engaged your employees are and how long they stay with your company. Because if you're constantly hiring, you're never going to have as good of employees as you could if you could just keep training them and improving them. So that's solid.
This is an interesting question. I was wrestling with even dropping that down there because I don't know how to answer it. So I saved it for when Matt went first. So I've got a little time to think about this. What is the biggest mistake you've ever made?
I don't really dwell on mistakes because I generally feel like, you learn from things pretty quickly and adapt. So there's nothing. I've never had a mistake in business that was a sunk decision that I just couldn't move forward from. The biggest mistake I ever made in business was opening a restaurant. That is and I almost did the same thing again during COVID. One came up that I wanted to buy. So the biggest mistake I ever made in business was owning a restaurant. It's 24/7, just madness. It's all the staff problems we have with none of the ability to control it, because there's just like a totally different culture of employees that just it's a nightmare. So yeah, owning a restaurant.
You ready, Liz?
Yeah. All right. So I don't have one biggest mistake. Unlike Matt, I made a ton of mistakes. So one of the mistakes that I made was really stupid mistake, which is why I consider it a big mistake. It didn't cost me a ton, but it was really stupid. When the prices of gas went way up, do you guys remember when they were like $5 a gallon? I attempted to pass on a $2 surcharge for gas to my clients, and I did not do it well. And it was ridiculous. People were furious. They were so angry. I did lose clients. I mean, I had to fight and claw to get them back. So that was a really big mistake. And then the second really big mistake that I've made, and I wish I could say I'd only made it once, but it is not making changes as quickly as they need to be made.
Very good. I struggle with questions like this because I'm kind of, I don't like making mistakes, and I'm In some regards, I'm conservative. I buy a lot of insurance to protect against a lot of things, in part because I've needed insurance for a lot of different things. There have been times over the 25 years I've been doing this where we didn't have as deep a respect for safety as we needed to, and people would get hurt, and our workers' comp rates would go up, insurance rates would go up. There was a time that some of our bookkeeping pertaining to payroll was not as accurate as it needed to be, and I've had some discussions with the Department of Labor, and this was a long time ago, and learned from that. We've made a number of mistakes, but the key is to learn from them and improve your business from them. Here's a good question.
Mm-hmm.
I like this. Spun completely different angle. What is the best decision you ever made that made a huge difference in your cleaning company? You're up, Liz.
All right. So with only a couple seconds to think about this, I'm not sure it's the best, but one of the best decisions I ever made was to hire my business coach, because he helped me do a lot of the things that I really would never have done without him. Setting goals and then working toward those goals, not just like random goals that were set out there. And he helps keep me on track and doing the things that I know I should do. So I would say that's probably the best. But I mean, I've done a lot of things that really helped me out a lot. Buying this one program from Renee O'Brien way back in the day, maybe 10 years ago, was a huge game changer too, because it just sort of got me on track. Ooh, starting Scrum.
Don't you hate it when you get that one last thought, the clock's starting to ding on you?
I'm like, oh
no. Okay, I'm up next. I'm gonna do two. When I first got into the cleaning business a long time ago, there was no real production management software, and we started building our own software, and it was a simple access database, and it evolved, and we've done numerous rebuilds, and each time when we do it, we would fix all the stuff that we didn't like the last time, and it's the product that we're using now that we call Made Central. And I'd like to pretend that 25 years ago I knew that would be the product that it is today. Sometimes you just get lucky, but I'm very glad that we made the decision to do that 25 years ago. And the second thing that we've done over the years that we would buy locations to be our physical office, and we've done that a couple of times, and that's given us an asset to borrow money against and working capital to help grow our business. You ready, Matt?
Yeah. I think the biggest thing for me was in the last couple of years, shifting my focus from top line growth to profitability. So got on Made Central a couple of years ago with this project with Tom, and really got into my numbers, and my profitability was close to about 13%, which I thought was good at the time. I'm drawn pretty good off of a couple $1 million, but I'm making quite a bit less top line revenue right now, but making almost the same amount of money because I've improved my profitability to above 20%. I never really thought that was probably all that possible, but I was able to focus on some key metrics. I shifted my business more towards solos and teams where applicable, reduced our number of vehicles. Made a lot of other shifts, but also looked at what jobs were profitable, what jobs weren't. And got rid of some customers that were costing us money. See if I know my numbers better.
Yeah, that's really good.
It's a good answer.
It's a really good answer.
Very useful answer.
Yeah.
You don't have to do $2 million to make good money in this business. You could focus on profitability and be a smaller company doing $1 million a year and pulling out $200,000 a year in salary. That's a legitimate legitimate possibility.
Oh.
And, yeah.
I think that's kind of Ken Carfagno's, strategy. Keep,
Heck yeah.
Smaller company, make more money.
Yeah.
I'm gonna, I've been thinking a lot about this lately, and I think there's just way too much focus on getting leads and sales and putting jobs on the board. Not to say that's not important, and not to say that's not necessary. It is, but that's not the end of anything. That's just the beginning. It's all the stuff that happens after that determines if you're making money or not. There's not nearly as much attention placed on that. I think just there's a concept, a perception out there, a paradigm that's created. All I need to do is have a great SEO and a great marketing campaign and get a lot of leads and clean a bunch of stuff, and I've got an awesome business. And sometimes it works out. Sometimes you just get lucky. But I've worked with enough companies and helped enough people to see that need a ton of stuff and not have anything left over to show for it.
I can give you one example of something that was really dragging on us. Is we had a bunch of customers that were just outside of the ring of we really tightened up our service area and made Central, we were able to pull a lot of reports on drive time and things like that, and just really see how much time we were spending, going to these properties. And I cut 60 customers over the last couple of years because they just were too far, and we were marginally profitable. So we were doing a lot of cleaning and generating revenue on those jobs, but they were just marginally profitable, if at all. And if we broke something in those houses, or if anything went wrong, then they were dogs, right? So we ostensibly cut a small company off of ourselves over the last year just to improve overall profitability rate. So that's one area.
With the right data, you can do a graph with your customers across the horizontal axis, from the ones that you're the most profitable with to the least, and the y-axis is the aggregate profit, and it goes up steep and then it starts flattening off, and then the tail end customers, it actually starts going back down.
Yeah.
Most companies have a certain number of customers. If they never even saw them, if they never cleaned for them, they would be more profitable. Trouble is, you just don't know which ones it is.
Yeah, and that's one of the things. I mean, that's a report you can pull right out of Made Central and just and then sort by how much money you're making per hour on that job. And if you fall below a certain level, you're probably starting to be in the trouble zone. And so that's how we kind of made a determination on it. And then also on some driving reports, good data solves a lot of bad thinking. I've always been very focused on growth. That's the key to making lots of money. I want to have a $10 million company, but I mean, I might have got to a $10 million company, but only making $500,000 a year and just spinning my wheels, where I could be making $500,000 a year on getting back up to two and a quarter, maybe, just really by improving the decisions we make in our business. The thinking that you put into your business is really important. And so when you really do focus on growth over profitability, you miss some opportunities to actually make more money because you're chasing customers that aren't necessarily the best value for your business long term. So, and sometimes you get off track as to what kind of customers are your customers, or where they are, what they are. Sometimes you just have to narrow your focus a little bit, and actually being more focused can lead to better results. And I think we all know that in principle, but sometimes we get off track on that and we start thinking bigger is better, adding another location, some other things. Those are all good. I want to get back to that, someday too. Go back to a second location and do the things that I've had in the past. But right now we're still a large company. We're large-ish for this industry, but much more profitable. And I never believed when people were like, "I'm profit margin 20%." I always thought they were lying. I was like, "How do you do that? There's no way." But if you're doing smart things and you're looking at your numbers and diving deep, it's there.
Well, we digress a little bit, but that's useful. That's useful information.
Yeah.
Here's the last question that Liz had on her list. So Well, we're almost out of time, so I guess this is kind of going to work out.
And you, Tom. We'll have just enough, and we'll end up with enough time to close up.
My one piece of advice would be, if you're the business owner, the assumption is you're the CEO, the chief executive officer, and a simple job description is that you're the chief strategist, you are the chief salesperson, you are the chief team builder. And depending upon where your business is in terms of growth and development, you're going to get caught up in the whirlwind of all the other things that are going to be happening. And you're going to have a lot of things pulling at you that's going to make it hard for you to live up to those three responsibilities. And my advice would be, regardless of where your business is in its evolution, never lose sight of the fact that those are the three things you need to be doing. And if you aren't spending your time on those, your objective should be to get there as quickly as you can. Ready, Matt?
Yeah. So I know this is probably going to be a Liz answer, but I think culture really does come first. I mean, building a company that you want to be at every day would be the best piece of advice that I can give. Be someplace that you enjoy spending time, and you're building. You've hired your key team members or people that you enjoy being around. That just think of it like this: you would not mind spending time with them outside of work. Now, I'm not saying you need to be friends with your employees or things like that, but just imagine that you're building a culture of people that you enjoy, whether you have to be there or not. So that's important to me. That's something that was important to my wife, Angela, when we built our business. So that's the biggest piece of advice that I can give is just, it's just a cultural piece.
Good answer. Yep, Liz?
Yep. All right. So this piece of advice comes from my brother, who has been very successful in a short amount of time. And his advice is to set goals. Make sure that you set goals, long-term goals, and then break them down. 5 years, minimum 5 years, 3 year, 1 year, and then quarterly goals, and then work toward your quarterly goals every single day. So there should be 3 things that you're working on toward your goals. And he has a saying, done by 1. So by 1 o'clock every single day, you should have at least one thing that you've done that is directly related to your goals and growing your business. Every single day, done by 1.
I like that.
Mm-hmm.
I like your brother. Your brother.
I didn't always, just saying.
Right. But here, I'm gonna close on cleaning business today. And if you didn't have a chance to catch Liz's brother Tom, do yourself a favor. You'll be glad you did. If you haven't subscribed to Cleaning Business Today, it's easy. Email, first name, last name. I'll drop the link to our resources in the chat. And I think our week here for Smart Business Moves, maybe not our entire work week, but our Smart Business Moves week might be over. Anything else we need to do?
Nope, it's a wrap. 1 minute to spare.
Matt, thank you. I know that you got just a ton of stuff going on in your world right now with the move and everything else. Thank you for taking some time and helping us out today.
I really appreciate it, Matt. I feel like you always bring value, so that's why I always ask you. So I appreciate you coming. I really do.
It was good. Sorry I couldn't shave or look a little more presentable. Just in the middle of moving boxes today. So
I think you look great, especially lost all that weight. That's the first thing everybody always notices.
Yeah. Hope you mend quickly.
Yeah, a couple more weeks, I'll be good. Well, thanks, guys. Thanks, everyone.
So take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.